It hit me like a punch to the gut. One night, just like any other, I was sitting on the couch, mindlessly scrolling through my phone. My wife, Mia, was in the kitchen, humming softly to herself while making dinner. It was the kind of evening that had always been familiar, comfortable, the routine that made me feel like everything was right in the world. But that night, something felt off. It was subtle at first, nothing I could really point to, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something wrong, like a shadow just out of sight. Mia was acting differently. Her usual lightheartedness was gone. She kept glancing at her phone, checking it every few minutes like she was waiting for something, or maybe hiding something. I couldn't tell you what made me notice it, but I knew something was up, and I wish I could say it was just a passing feeling, that I'd brushed it off, but I couldn't. I tried to ignore it, but every time I looked at her, the suspicion grew. She came over to the couch, sat down next to me, and we talked about our day. Or I tried to. She was distracted, more than usual. She kept her phone face down on the coffee table, her fingers tapping on it nervously. Her eyes flicked to the screen now and then, like there was a message she had to read but didn't want me to see. It wasn't until later that night that I really felt it. We were lying in bed and Mia was scrolling through her phone again. She had her back to me, her body still, but her fingers moved quickly, almost urgently. "Who are you texting?" I asked, half joking, trying to lighten the mood. She didn't answer right away. Her silence made the hairs on my neck stand up. "Just a friend," she said finally, in a tone that didn't sound like herself. A little too quick. Too rehearsed. "Okay," I muttered, but I didn't let it go. Something about that answer didn't sit right with me. The next morning, I tried to shake it off. I figured it was nothing. Maybe I was overthinking. But the more I thought about it, the more my mind raced. I wasn't stupid. I knew when things felt off. It wasn't until the following week that things really started to spiral. I wasn't the kind of guy to snoop through her stuff. I trusted Mia. But one evening, after a long day of work, I noticed a text notification flash across her phone screen as she left the room. My heart stopped for a second. It was just a quick glance, but I swear I saw the name. And that name? It wasn't one I recognized. I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe it was a work friend or someone from her book club. But when she came back into the room, she didn't grab her phone. It was still sitting there, unlocked on the counter. My mind raced. Should I check it? Should I leave it alone? For the first time in years, I felt my trust in her start to crack. I tried to push the thought away, but it wouldn't leave. So like an idiot, I picked up her phone. I swear my hand was shaking when I swiped to her messages. There, staring back at me, was a thread of texts with a name I didn't recognize. James. The texts were casual, friendly even, but there was one line that made my stomach drop. "I can't wait to see you again, babe." My heart stopped. My breath caught. It hit me harder than I thought it would. I felt sick. That gut-wrenching feeling of betrayal twisted inside me. I quickly put the phone down, my hands clammy. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. How long had this been going on? Who was James? I needed answers, but I didn't know where to start. The next few days were a blur. I barely spoke to Mia. I didn't want to confront her yet, but I couldn't shake the images that kept running through my mind. I didn't sleep. I barely ate. Every little thing she did felt like a lie. Every smile, every kiss, every word was tainted, and all I could think about was James. I watched her closely, and the more I did, the more I saw. Little things, the way she'd be on her phone too much, the way she seemed to avoid me. Her eyes would sometimes wander, like she wasn't really here with me. And I couldn't help but feel like I was losing her. I started doubting everything. Was she cheating on me? Was I overreacting? Maybe I was imagining things. But deep down, I knew. I just knew. Finally, one evening, when she got home from work, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know. I had to confront her. I needed to hear the truth, no matter how much it would hurt. She walked in, smiling, her hair slightly messy from the wind. She was acting normal, as if everything was fine. But I wasn't going to pretend anymore. "Mia," I said, my voice shaking, "we need to talk." She stopped in her tracks, her smile faltering. "About what?" I could feel the tension building. My heart raced in my chest, the weight of the moment crashing down on me. "I know about James," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She froze. Her face went pale, and for a split second, I thought she was going to deny it, tell me I was imagining things. But then she just looked at me, her eyes filled with guilt. "Daniel, She started, but her voice broke off. And in that moment, I felt the ground slip away beneath me. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, was staring at me with that look in her eyes. The look of someone who had already given up on the relationship, but wasn't brave enough to admit it. To be honest, I didn't know what to say next. I didn't know how to ask her to explain herself. The betrayal hurt too much, and I was scared of the truth. But I needed to know. And that's when everything started to fall apart. The silence between us stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Mia stood there, her hands trembling, her eyes avoiding mine. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. I could barely breathe. My mind was racing. Too many thoughts, too many emotions, all colliding at once. I could tell she was trying to figure out what to say, trying to come up with the right words to make everything okay again. But there was no way to fix this. Not now. Not after everything I'd seen. "You're cheating on me," I said again. But this time my voice wasn't as steady. It cracked. She winced, like my words physically hurt her. "Daniel, I never meant for this to happen. She stopped, shaking her head. I could see the guilt in her eyes, but I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for her. I wanted to, but I couldn't. The pain was too raw, too fresh. "Don't!" I snapped, my voice rising. "Don't give me that! Don't say you didn't! Mean it. You did it, Mia. You cheated." There was a long pause, then she finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "It wasn't like that. It's complicated." I couldn't believe it. After everything, after the way she'd betrayed me, she still tried to justify it. My heart felt like it was being ripped in two. I wasn't sure what hurt more, the fact that she was cheating, or the fact that she didn't even seem to feel the weight of what she had done. I took a step back, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. The whole room felt too small, too suffocating. The house, which had once felt like home, now felt like a prison. "I don't want to hear it," I muttered, pacing around the room. My mind was spiraling. I couldn't understand how this happened, how the woman I thought I knew could betray me so completely. Mia looked at me with tears in her eyes. "Daniel, please. I messed up. I don't know what I was thinking, but it's over now. I'm sorry. Sorry. Sorry didn't change anything. Sorry didn't undo what had already happened." The anger inside me started to build. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something, to punch something. I wanted to feel like I had control over the situation, but I didn't. I felt small, weak, completely powerless. I looked at her then, really looked at her, and I saw the woman who had once been my everything, the one I trusted, the one I promised I would love forever. Now she was a stranger who had shattered everything we built. "How long?" I asked, my voice cold. She flinched. "What? How long has this been going on?" I repeated. I needed to know. I needed to know how deep the betrayal went. She hesitated for a moment, and for a second I thought she might lie. But then she closed her eyes and sighed. "A few months," she whispered. "A few months." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. My body went numb. I didn't know what to do with that information. I tried to hold it together, but the tears welled up in my eyes despite how hard I fought them. I couldn't stop them. I felt so small, so utterly defeated. How could she have done this? How? Could she have looked me in the eye every day and lied to me? "I can't believe you," I said, barely able to get the words out. "I thought we were happy. I thought you loved me." "I do love you," she said, her voice shaky. "But I got lost. I don't know what happened. James he made me feel alive again. I was so caught up in it that I didn't think about the consequences. I'm sorry. Please believe me." I didn't know how to respond to that. James made her feel alive again? What about me? Had I not been enough? Had we not shared the life we'd promised each other? "You think sorry fixes this?" I asked, my voice shaking with frustration. "Do you think I can just forget this, that we can just move on?" She shook her head, tears running down her face. "No, Daniel, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. But please, let me try to make it right. Let me prove that I'm still the woman you married." I couldn't speak. I just stood there looking at her, my mind spinning. Part of me wanted to believe her. Part of me wanted to forgive her. To say that we could work through this, that we could somehow rebuild what was broken. But deep down, I knew I couldn't, not after everything. I turned away, my chest tightening with every breath. I needed space. I needed time to think. My heart was shattered, and I couldn't let her see how much it hurt. Not yet. Not when I was still trying to process everything. "I need to go," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I didn't even look at her as I walked toward the door. "Daniel, please," she called after me, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. I drove around aimlessly for hours that night, not knowing where I was going or what I was doing. I couldn't go home. I couldn't face her again. I couldn't face the reality of what she had done. When I finally pulled into a parking lot, I sat there in the car, staring out the windshield. I couldn't stop thinking about everything she had said, about how she was sorry, about how she loved me, about how she wanted to make things right. But the words didn't matter. They didn't change anything. What mattered was that she had broken my trust. She had broken us. And I didn't know if I could ever forgive her for that. The next few days were a blur. I didn't go home. I stayed with a friend trying to process everything. But no matter how many times I replayed the conversation in my head, no matter how much I tried to make sense of it all, one thing was clear. I had to decide what to do. I had to decide if I was willing to try to rebuild this, or if I was better off walking away and starting over. But I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know if I even had the strength to leave her. I spent the next few days in a haze. Didn't know what to do with myself, what to think, or where to go. I stayed with my friend for a bit, but it wasn't helping. It wasn't taking away the weight in my chest. I could still hear Mia's voice, begging me to listen, to give her a chance. But I couldn't hear it anymore. I couldn't focus on anything except the betrayal. I thought about the life we'd built. All the little things, the memories, the dinners, the quiet evenings, the laughter and the dreams. We had so many plans for the future, and now it felt like they were all nothing. Like I had been living in some kind of illusion. I couldn't go back to her. I couldn't face her again and pretend like everything was fine. I couldn't look at her the same way after what I found out. I remember the first night I went back, home. My feet dragged as I walked through the front door, like I was moving through quicksand. I didn't know if I could stay there. I didn't know if I could stay in the place that held so many memories with someone who had broken my heart so completely. The house was quiet. It felt cold, like it had turned on me. I could hear the ticking of the clock in the kitchen, but there was no comfort in it. It was just noise. Everything felt wrong. I walked into the living room and sat on the couch. I stared at the empty space where Mia had been just days before, her smile so familiar, so comforting. But now that smile felt fake. It felt like a mask she had worn, and I had been too blind to see it. I didn't know what to do next. Should I leave her? Should I give her a chance to prove she was sorry? I didn't have answers, just questions. And then, something weird happened. My phone buzzed. A message from Mia. It had only been a few days, but it felt like forever. "Daniel, please. Can we talk? I can't keep living like this." I stared at the message for a long time. I wanted to respond, but what could I say? My heart was still, in pieces. I didn't know if I could even look her in the eye again without everything breaking apart. But then my phone buzzed again. "I love you. Please, I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix this, but I want to try. I need you to know I'm not the person I was before. I'll do whatever it takes. Please." I felt something stir in my chest, a mix of confusion, pain, and hope, but I didn't know if it was real hope or just the idea of hope. The idea that maybe, just maybe, we could get through this. I stared at the message for a long time, my fingers hovering over the keyboard, unsure of what to say. It wasn't that I didn't love her. I did. I loved her more than anything. But love wasn't enough anymore. She had shattered my trust, and that wasn't something I could fix with just a few words or a few promises. I didn't respond that night, or the next day. I couldn't. I was still too broken, too angry. I needed time to think, to really understand what was going on in my own head, but eventually I had to face it. I had to face the reality of the situation. We had to talk. I couldn't keep running from it. So, I called her. When she answered, her voice was shaky like she had been holding her breath, waiting for this moment. "Daniel," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. I can't even begin to explain how much I regret what I did. Please give me a chance to make it right." I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Mia, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can ever trust you again." There was a long pause on the other end. Then she spoke again, her voice barely audible. "I understand. I know I don't deserve your trust, but I will spend the rest of my life earning it if I have to." I didn't know what to say. I felt so numb. It was like my emotions had been drained, like I was just going through the motions. "Why?" I asked, the words slipping out before I could stop it. "Why did you do it? Was I not enough? Did you stop loving me?" Her voice trembled as she responded, "No, Daniel. It wasn't you. It was me. I don't even know how it happened. I got lost in something, and I made the worst mistake of my life. I'm so sorry, please believe me, it was never about you. It was never about us." But that didn't make sense. If it wasn't about us, if it wasn't about me, then what was it about? What was the point of throwing everything away for some fleeting connection? I didn't know how to respond. I couldn't find the right words. We talked for what felt like hours, but nothing was resolved. The pain was still there, sharp and raw. I wanted to forgive her. I wanted to believe her, but I didn't know if I could. I didn't know if I wanted to. Finally, we said goodbye. I hung up the phone and sat there in silence for what felt like forever. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my mind, the words she said, the promises she made. But in the end, it came down to one thing. Could I trust her again, and more importantly, could I trust myself if I chose to forgive her? I didn't have the answers yet. But something inside me knew I couldn't stay like this forever. I couldn't stay broken, couldn't stay drowning in the pain she caused. It was time to make a choice. But what choice could I make when my heart was still in pieces? I spent the next week in limbo. I couldn't stop thinking about Mia, about what she had done, and about whether I could really forgive her. My mind would race in circles every time I thought about it, trying to decide whether to give her another chance or walk away. I couldn't keep going back and forth like this. I needed an answer, even if it wasn't the one I wanted. And then one evening, it happened. I went back home. I walked through the front door, and it was just as cold and empty as it had been when I left. The silence in the house seemed to grow louder as I stepped into the living room. I stood there for a moment, just breathing, trying to find some kind of peace in the stillness. But there was no peace, only the heavy weight of everything that had happened. I saw Mia sitting on the couch, her head down, her hands in her lap. She didn't look up when I walked in. She didn't even move. It was like she was waiting for me to make the first move. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. "Mia," I said softly. Her name felt foreign on my tongue now, like I wasn't sure who she was anymore. "We need to talk." She finally looked up at me. Her eyes were red from crying, her face pale. She looked broken. But I couldn't bring myself to feel sympathy for her anymore. I had been broken too many times already. "I know," she whispered. "I know I don't deserve another chance, Daniel. But please hear me out. I don't know what happened. I don't know why I did what I did, but I swear it wasn't because of you. You are everything I ever wanted. I lost myself, and I made the biggest mistake of my life." I stood there in silence, my arms crossed over my chest. Every word she said made the hole in my chest grow deeper. She was still asking for forgiveness, still trying to fix what was broken, but I couldn't keep letting her try to fix something that might never be fixed. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I said, the words heavy in my mouth. "I don't know if I can trust you again. You shattered everything, Mia. You shattered us. And I don't know if I'm strong enough to pick up the pieces." The silence that followed felt deafening. She looked at me, her face filled with regret, her eyes full of pain. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was right anymore. Finally, she stood up. She walked toward me slowly, like she was afraid of making things worse. When she reached me, she placed her hands on my arms, looking up at me with pleading eyes. "I'll do anything, Daniel. Anything to make this right. I love you. Please just give me one more chance. I don't want to lose you." I took a step back. The touch of her hands on my arms felt foreign now, like something I used to know but couldn't quite remember. "I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can ever forget what you did." Her face crumpled, and for the first time, I saw her vulnerability. The woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted, was standing in front of me, broken and desperate. I felt a pang of something. Sorrow, regret, maybe even love. But I wasn't sure if that was enough to fix everything. But what choice did I really have? What was I supposed to do? I had to decide. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the weight of the decision wash over me. I thought about everything we had, everything we could have. But then I thought about the pain, the heartache, the constant fear of being betrayed again. Was I willing to live like that? Would I be able to keep moving forward with her, knowing that she had broken my heart so completely? "I can't live like this, Mia," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "I can't keep pretending that everything is fine when it's not. I need to let go. I need to move on." She looked at me, her face full of disbelief. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I can't stay here anymore," I said. "I need to walk away. For both of us. We can't keep living in this constant pain. You need to figure out who you are without me, and I need to find myself again." The tears started to fall from her eyes, and for a moment I thought I might change my mind. But I didn't. I couldn't. The trust was gone, and without trust, there was nothing left. "I'm sorry, Mia," I said, my voice breaking. "But I have to let go. For both of us." She didn't say anything. She just stood there, crying quietly. I walked past her, not looking back, and left the house. The door slammed shut behind me, and the finality of it hit me like a ton of bricks. I spent the next few weeks picking up the pieces of my life. I had to learn how to live without her, how to trust myself again. It wasn't easy, and there were days when the pain threatened to swallow me whole. But I kept going. I kept moving forward. I worked on myself, on becoming the best version of me. And eventually, I did. I found peace, not because I had forgiven her, but because I had forgiven myself. I stopped blaming myself for what happened. I stopped thinking that I wasn't enough. I started to focus on my own happiness, my own growth. And in doing that, I realized something. I was stronger than I ever thought I could be. I had survived the worst thing that had ever happened to me, and I had come out the other side not broken, but whole. It wasn't the life I had planned. It wasn't the life I had hoped for, but it was my life now, and I was going to live it the best way I knew how.